Kipco 2000 Guineas grows ever nearer, and here for an Ante-post look at the contest, I'd like to say I'm joined by Nick Watts and Graham Rodway. So the gentlemen, all the money is going on Camelot, last year's Racing Post Trophy winner, an excellent winner of the contest I should say as well. Nick, if you're sat at home watching this now, would you advise anyone to walk down to their bookmakers and get lumping on it around 6-4?
No, absolutely not. No, I wouldn't, not at this price. We were in the same position, exactly the same position 2 years ago with St Nicholas Abbey. Son of Montreal won the Racing Post Trophy really well. He got sent off at evens money on the day, could only manage sixth, and it took him a hell of a long time to rediscover his form. Now, I'm not saying the same thing will happen to Camelot. He might go to a new market and go and win easily. He could well do, but the prices don't attract me. I can't see him getting a huge amount of short. I can see him going into evens maybe, but you know, no, not for me. Not unless you're a huge hitter, and I'm not a huge hitter, and I'm not absolutely convinced anyway for the reasons I've just given. We've been here before in this exact position.
And Graham, Nick touches upon the fact that been there with St Nicholas Abbey. Looking at it, do you think that surely they won't want to make the same mistake again in the Aidan O'Brien camp? Will Camelot be showing enough speed at home to make you think, right, well, we knew St Nicholas Abbey didn't have the speed. If he was showing what he did, they'd wait and wait for targets later on.
Yeah, well, Ballydor got a couple of runners in there, haven't they? They've got Camelot and Power, and the betting suggests, and all the hype suggests that Camelot is far and away a better horse than Power.
But would you back him at 6-4?
No, but the difference between now and St Nicholas Abbey is that on the run-up to St Nicholas Abbey's race, it was really dry and the ground was on the far side. Camelot's by Mondieu. A lot of Mondieu's like cutting the ground. He's definitely going to get further, Camelot. So the more of a stamina test this becomes, the better it's going to be for him.
OK then, well, second in the market we got Top Offer, Nick. Well, absolutely blew apart the opposition in a Newbury Maiden, but as I just said there, it was a Newbury Maiden and he's currently 6-1 second favourite to win a Group 1.
Yeah, this might be half the reason why Camelot's such a short price, because if you look through, you've got Top Offer, like you said, a maiden winner and second best. I think if anyone goes into bookies today and has 6-1 on Top Offer, I think they're mad. It could well drift on the day, I'm sure it will. I don't get me wrong, Roger Charlton is a very good trainer, and if he sees something in a horse, then more often than not it will come true. But that doesn't alter the fact that he's only managed to get one run into him in a maiden, won it well, but got an injury after that, so missed his late season targets. Missed the Greenham on account of the soft ground, which would have given him a good bit of experience going into this race. I think he'll have to be exceptional to win this after a one run. He might well be exceptional later in the season, but this comes very, very early, and he's taken on horses that will be much more ready than him. I think it's a false price. I think there's others further down the list who've got much better form claims than him, got solid Group 1 form to bring to the table. So why is 6-1? Second favourite, I really don't know. Couldn't have him at all. OK, well, you mentioned ones further down the list there, Nick, and who's grabbing your eye and where would your bet be going? Well, I find it quite extraordinary looking at this market. I think it's quite weird, really, that the horses that finished 1-2 in the Dewhurst in Parish Hall and Power are such a long way down. Parish Hall, you can get a 12-1 now. Power, you can get a 14s. Now, with Power, it's interesting that Ladbrokes are shortest about Camelot and longest about Power, so that tends to suggest what G-Rod said earlier, that Power isn't in the same league as Camelot. But that said, he's a really solid Group 1 horse. He's unlucky not to be unbeaten last season, probably should have been. Probably should have won the Dewhurst. Ryan Moore, he had a bit of traffic problems getting him out and he finished fast, couldn't quite get to Parish Hall. We know he's going to get a mile, he's a very solid operator. Came over to England twice last season, won the Coventry, a good second in the Dewhurst, got some good course experience in the bag. Represents a great second string. He should be much shorter than he is. So should Parish Hall. You know, he's a Jim Bolger winner of a Dewhurst. It's not going to be a fluke. Jim Bolger knows what he's doing.
Yeah. New approach, Chetal.
New approach. You know, it's mental that these horses, both these horses, are as big as they are in the betting, compared to what we just said about Top Offer, a once-raced maiden, who's the second favourite. It's bonkers.
So you'd be going with both of those, would you?
I think both of them are massively overpriced at the moment. I've nailed my colours to the last already with Power because, you know, I do like the horse. He's a real professional. He might not have Camelot's style or you know, might end up not being anywhere near as good as Camelot, but, you know, he's proven Group 1 horse.
I think the thing, though, with these Group 1 horses, Watsy, is that the general feeling is, among most people, that these Group 1 was not that strong, and a lot of last season 2-year-old form is not that strong, hence why you've got Camelot.
But surely stronger than Top Offer is maiden.
Maybe, but I think what people are thinking is that they haven't seen a superstar last season in the Group 1s as a 2-year-old. Now, Top Offer comes in as unbeaten maiden winner, and he could be a potential superstar. I think what you're saying is right. I think that is the solid form in the race. But if there's a superstar in this race, it isn't going to be Power. It will be Top Offer or Camelot or something along those lines. And I think that because it's a 2,000 Guineas, people are always looking for a superstar rather than just going with a solid form. Whether that's right or wrong, I'm not sure. I can see the point you're making. That is the best form on offer, and the price predicts it.
I do agree with you on that. But what I would say is, to counter that, is that the Guineas does come up so quickly in the season. It's so early that if you've got a horse that's ready-made, then I think they've got an advantage over a horse that might be absolutely brilliant come June or July, but just might not be ready at this stage of the season. And Top Offer might come into that category.
So it's a big substance versus style debate, I suppose, there, and which
exactly.
way you play it is where you align your bets. Well, come on in, Graham. You've rambled off there.
Well, I'm going to go with a potential superstar angle, obviously, because don't get me wrong, I can see what's his point. I mean, the form horses are the big prices, but I also think there is a potential superstar in Born to Sea, who's actually been a massive hype horse himself in the past, but seemed to lose some of his sparkle when he got beaten at Leopardstown on his second start over 7 furlongs, albeit the fact that he was beaten by a decent horse in Nephrite, and he finished lame and pulled muscles apparently in that race. So John Ox is completely willing to forgive that. Now, if you go back to his previous run, he won a listed race on his debut by 1.5 lengths. He is very impressive, and he's obviously well bred. He's a half brother to See the Stars, and I just think it's really interesting that John Ox is come into this race. He's going to take him here first time out in the same way that he did with See the Stars, on the back of a defeat as well at Leopardstown. It's not like he's gone out there and the horse has come out and won, and John Ox has been left with no option but to go for the Guineas. He's coming in off the back of a loss. So really, if John Ox didn't think he was up to Guineas, he could quite chuck him in a Group 3 maybe, and build his way up. But John Ox is not one of these trainers that tilts at windmills, and he very rarely has runners in England unless they've got a very, very good chance. He has an excellent record in England. And the fact that he's willing to run Born to Sea in the Guineas first time out after on the back of a defeat suggests to me that he thinks Born to Sea is without doubt good enough to win this race. This race usually goes to a horse with plenty of speed, and although a lot of people point to the fact that he's half brother to See the Stars, See the Stars was by Cape Cross, whereas Born to Sea is by Invincible Spirit, who was a sprinter and is a much more speed influence. And John Ox has already said...
Stars managed to win the Guineas anyway. So
exactly, but John Ox has already said that Born to Sea won't get much further than a mile. You know, he's not a Derby horse in the making. He is a speed horse, and a speed horse usually does win the Guineas. So I think Born to Sea ticks plenty of boxes.
It's got high knee action as well, I noticed that. And rain's coming down, as you said. The ground should be fine.
The ground should be absolutely ideal. I mean... Urban Seas progeny tend to go on soft ground. So I think everything's in favour of Born to Sea. And 8-1 is a really fair price for a horse that has always been well hyped, a bit like Camelot. But he's got the punters seem to have gone off him just on that one bad run. But there's excuses for him finishing second. It wasn't a bad run anyway.
Okay, then well, I better throw my long shot in then, gentlemen. Fencing, John Gosden. It's 20-1. I don't think he's done a lot wrong, really. He's won some Mickey Mouse races really well. Then was third, okay, well beaten behind the favourite Camelot, but 6-4, 20-1. To me, the disparaging prices there just don't quite add up, Nick. I mean, I think he'll get better over further in time, but now, as you say, there's a few horses here with a lot of question marks about them, and it could be that you just don't necessarily need a superstar to win this contest.
No, absolutely. And if you don't fancy Camelot, or the price doesn't attract you about Camelot, there's a lot of good value out there still. So, and fencing is definitely one that comes into that category. But so my overriding point with the Guineas is that it does come so early in the season that, you know, the order of horses in which who is the best will change.
It's not often the best horse, it's the one that's the most ready.
The most ready, that's my point of view.
My point is that if Power or Parashall win this race, I think a lot of us will come away disappointed from it, because we always hope to see a real potential superstar in the 2000 Guineas, something like See the Stars that might go on and dominate, a bit like Frankel last year. And if Parashall and Power win it, we know we aren't going to see one. So hopefully they won't. Hopefully it'll be Born to Sea, Ted.
Okay, hopefully. Well, I've been joined by 2 superstars, so there we go. We've already had enough for this season. But anyway, thanks for watching, and see you all again soon.